there is a question that lives quietly beneath the surface of modern life, whispered in late-night searches, woven into dreams, hinted at in déjà vu and moments of unexplainable clarity. Is there more to reality than what I see? Not just more information, but another way of seeing altogether, one that feels truer, deeper, older. This question has drawn seekers across millennia to one powerful idea: the third eye. Mystics, monks, scientists, skeptics, yogis, and wanderers, they've all asked, what is the third eye? Is it real? Can I open it? Should I? And perhaps most mysteriously, what happens if I do? To some, the third eye is a metaphor. To others, it is a reality as tangible as breath. A portal not of flesh, but of perception. A lens through which the soul begins to see. Across ancient cultures, from India to Egypt, from Tibet to Mesoamerica, the third eye appears in temples, texts, and the foreheads of gods. It watches from stone carvings and sacred scrolls, not as superstition, but as a symbol of deeper awareness, revered and protected across centuries. In statues of the Buddha, it is marked as the urna, a subtle spiral or gem, symbolizing awakened vision. In the iconography of Shiva, the third eye burns with the power to destroy illusion itself. In Egyptian cosmology, the Eye of Horus offered not only protection, but the restoration of divine order, a cosmic eye that saw not with judgment but with clarity. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the third eye is known as the Ajna Chakra, the sixth energy center in the human subtle body, said to reside in the center of the forehead, just above the space between the eyebrows. The word Ajna in Sanskrit means command or perception, reflecting the idea that this chakra governs not only insight, but the inner authority to navigate life beyond the pull of ego and illusion. It is here that the physical and spiritual worlds converge. It is the eye of insight, the gateway to intuition, the point where thought dissolves into direct knowing. A silent guide that does not speak in words, but in visions, dreams, and subtle shifts of energy. When activated, the Ajna Chakra is said to refine one's inner vision, awakening the ability to perceive beyond duality, to witness reality not as fragmented and chaotic, but as interconnected and meaningful. It is a point of convergence, where logic softens and deeper intelligence arises, where the inner world reveals itself not as a dream, but as the source of all outer perception. It is no accident that this sacred center lies between the physical eyes, as if to remind us that true vision is born not just from seeing outward, but from looking inward. But what does it actually mean to open the third eye? People often imagine dramatic revelations, sudden visions, psychic flashes, mystical downloads from other dimensions. And while those things do happen, they are not the rule. Most of the time, the third eye doesn't open like a door. It opens like a flower, slowly, silently, naturally. At first, you may simply feel a subtle pressure between the brows, a tingling sensation during meditation, a moment of stillness that stretches longer than usual. Then come the insights, quiet, intuitive nudges, dreams that feel more alive than waking life, a sense of inner knowing that wasn't there before. You may begin to notice synchronicities, strange alignments of time and meaning. You may find yourself seeing through people's words and into their emotions, into their energy. And perhaps, most surprisingly, you begin to see yourself, not just the roles you play, but the observer behind them. Have you ever sensed that someone was thinking of you, and then they called? Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension before a word was spoken? Have you ever dreamt something symbolic and woken up with clarity you couldn't explain? These are not accidents. They are glimpses, thin places in the veil, where the third eye breathes through our ordinary senses. Is it a real eye? Not in the anatomical sense, though many connect it with the pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped structure deep in the center of the brain. The pineal gland is light-sensitive, and in some animals it even functions as a literal third eye. It regulates melatonin and helps govern sleep cycles, but in mystical traditions, it is said to do much more. Descartes called it the seat of the soul. Ancient yogis believed it to be the antenna for divine consciousness. Some modern seekers speak of it being calcified by toxins, or reawakened through meditation, breathwork, and clean living. Whether biological or symbolic, the pineal gland remains a potent mirror of the mystery, a physical node tied to metaphysical vision. In Egyptian iconography, the eye of Horus was more than ornament. It represented protection, healing, and inner sight. In Norse myth, Odin traded one of his physical eyes for wisdom, for the ability to see with the inner one. Again and again, across continents and centuries, the stories repeat. True vision comes at a cost. Not because we are punished for it, but because to truly see is to release illusion, to pay with comfort, to step into responsibility. And yet, the real awakening of the third eye is not about biology. It is about consciousness. It is about remembering how to see the world not through the lens of survival, judgment, and fear, but through presence, curiosity, and stillness. Most people want to know how to open it. But the better question might be, how are we keeping it closed? We close it through distraction, through noise, through endless input and no reflection, through always looking outward and never inward. We close it by believing only what can be measured and dismissing what can only be felt. We close it by fearing the unknown, when the unknown is where all true insight lives. The modern world rewards the analytical mind, the reactive mind, the busy mind. But the third eye does not speak to that part of us. It whispers to the silent watcher behind the thoughts. Take a breath. Feel your attention pull back from the outside world. What remains? That still, silent awareness is the doorway. That is where the third eye lives. This is why so many people begin the journey of opening their third eye through meditation. In stillness, the external world recedes, the inner world begins to speak. Breath deepens, awareness expands. Attention, once scattered, gathers into focus, like a beam of light through a magnifying glass. Over time, the noise of the mind softens, and a deeper form of seeing begins to emerge. Not through effort, but through surrender. Some experience this shift suddenly during deep meditation, trauma, fasting, or through the use of sacred plant medicines. Others feel it gradually unfold over months or years. But in every case, there comes a moment when perception changes. A sense that you are no longer just looking at the world. You are in relationship with it. You sense energy where you once saw objects. You feel truth behind words. You begin to live not only from logic, but from intuitive knowing. It is not a matter of believing more. It is a matter of needing to believe less, because you now see. And yet many people fear what they might find. They ask, is it dangerous to open the third eye? The answer is yes, but not in the way they think. It is not dangerous in the sense of demons or madness. It is dangerous in the sense that you cannot go back to sleep. Once you begin to see the layers beneath things, the patterns, the illusions, the ways we lie to ourselves, you can no longer pretend. The third eye does not flatter. It reveals. It shines light on your ego, your stories, your attachments, your fears. It brings unconscious material to the surface, and that can be uncomfortable, even painful. But it is also the first step toward healing, clarity, and freedom. There is also a real need for balance. Some open this faculty too quickly, through extreme practices or mind-altering substances, without the foundation to integrate what they experience. This can lead to confusion, emotional upheaval, even spiritual arrogance. The key is always grounding. The third eye opens best in a heart that is open, in a mind that is clear, in a life that is rooted. And so, how do you begin? The third eye responds to intention. Begin by creating space in your life for inner silence. Meditate, reflect, journal. Fast from overstimulation, from screens, noise, and busyness. Pay attention to dreams. Watch your emotions, not to control them, but to understand them. Focus your gaze gently between the brows during stillness. Practice single-pointed concentration. On the breath, a candle flame, or a mantra. Use tools if you like, essential oils, sound frequencies, sacred symbols. But remember, the techniques are only keys. You are the door. You might feel called to nature, to still water, to sacred places. You might feel a pull toward the night sky, stars whispering in silence. Follow that. These are invitations. They are memory waking up. What are the signs that it's working? Subtle at first, tingling at the brow, vivid dreams, a heightened sense of intuition, the sensation that something is watching, not from outside, but from within. A flood of insight, emotional release, the desire to let go of old patterns, a sensitivity to energy. You may begin to feel the difference between truth and illusion in a room without a single word being spoken. You may begin to understand things without needing to explain how. You may feel a connection to the world that no longer depends on belief. You simply know. People also ask, is the third eye real or just symbolic? That question itself points to the split in modern consciousness between the measurable and the meaningful. But consider this. The most important things in life are invisible. Love, memory, consciousness, peace. The third eye is not about fantasy. It is about perception. It is the shift from seeing the surface of life to seeing into its essence. Whether you view it as spiritual anatomy, neural function, or archetypal metaphor, it points to the same inner awakening. A new way of relating to experience itself. And perhaps this is why the idea persists, because no matter how far we drift from the mystical, we are always called back. The third eye shows up in our symbols, our myths, our art, in the eye of Horus, the forehead dot of the Buddha, the cosmic eye of Shiva, the halo around the heads of saints. We are trying to remember something we've always known, that we are not merely observers of reality, but participants in its unfolding. In the end, the third eye is not a destination. It is a process of returning, of peeling away the filters that cloud our vision, of seeing not just with our eyes, but with our being. It is a quiet revolution. In a world obsessed with looking outward, it dares to look within. In a world addicted to speed, it moves in stillness. In a world chasing certainty, it opens the door to mystery. It asks not that you believe, but that you look. And once you do, you may never see the same again. Because the truth is, the third eye was never truly closed, only forgotten. and it is not waiting for you to find it. It is waiting for you to remember that you've been seeing through it all along.